When you hear that, how does that make you feel? I mean, put a kid with one of the greatest players of all time.
I get chills just thinking about it. I'm truly, truly honored. I'm humbled because, man, there are so many great players that came before me. So many amazing players played during my time, and just to be considered, one of those top linebackers is truly special.
Hall of Famer with the San Francisco 49ers and Bay Area legend Patrick Willis joining us now on the River Islands guest line. Joe Spadoni alongside Joe Shasky. Patrick, good morning. Before you say anything, I do got to mention that you are a part of the Bay Area host committee and are going to be part of this panel because, Joe, I don't know if you know, 60 days until the Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. Patrick, can you talk about what you're doing with the Bay Area host committee? 60 days to the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Excited to talk about the amazing events that are lined up for the Bay Area Super Bowl experience, which is NFL's Interactive Football Festival, it's a great place for families and communities to come together and have a good time and play some ball, play some sports. I
love that. I absolutely love that. Patrick, did you ever come across Brian Baldinger in your career? The guy who does all the film breakdowns?
I'm probably a little better with faces than I am names, but the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so he's worked for the NFL Films forever. He's called games forever, and he breaks down film for not just 95.7 The Game, but for NFL films and studies all these players. And I asked him, where does Patrick Willis stack up in the history of the game at the linebacker position? This was his answer.
If you're going to start the conversation right now with Ray Lewis, which is where you should start it, like Patrick, if you had to say, okay, who's your starting inside linebackers in today 2025's honor roll? You're going to go probably Patrick Willis and Ray Lewis. You're probably going to put those two guys side by side.
When you hear that, how does that make you feel? I mean, you're put a kid with one of the greatest players of all time side by side. What do you think when you hear that?
Man, I get chills. I get chills just thinking about it. It was one of those things that I remember telling myself my rookie year. I said, man, people are always going to have opinions on who people think is the best to ever play a position or play the game. I was like, man, I don't want to psychologically get myself caught up in that to where I feel like if I didn't have a certain stat or if I didn't have a certain accolade that I would feel less than. So I told myself, I was like, man, just maybe one day when people are talking about linebackers, that one person will remember that Patrick Willis kid, that one person will say, hey, do you guys remember that Patrick Willis kid? That kid could play. And I said, if I could have that, someone say that about me, I said, I can say job well done. So to hear this, I'm truly, truly honored. I'm humbled because, man, there are so many great players that came before me. So many amazing players played during my time and guys that will come after me. And so just to be considered, one of those top linebackers, it's truly special.
And then you got to play him in the Super Bowl. I don't want to talk about the outcome because it still makes me sad to this day. How special was that for you, though, as someone who looked up to Ray Lewis?
Man, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was the second time that I had been able to third time I've been able to share the field with him. I remember I shared the field with him in maybe early on in my career. I think it was at Candlestick, maybe 2007 or 2008. And then we played him again at in the they call it the Thanksgiving
Hardball,
yeah, that Thursday night game.
Yeah, but he didn't play that game, and so to play across from him, to share the field with him in the Super Bowl, that was huge. I still remember, I can't feel my feet. I can't feel my feet. I feel like I'm light, but I got to go out here and I got to put on a show for so many reasons. And one, not just because we need to win, but two, you got Mufasa over there, he's watching and he's looking like, man, who's going to be the next in line? And so, just everything about Ray and his game was tremendous, and I'm just, again, just honored.
Patrick, another guy that's up for the Hall of Fame, first ballot, your teammate Frank Gore. Have you talked to Frank about this process at all? And, what do you tell someone that's in in the running for being a Hall of Famer? This whole process, does it mess with your mind at all?
Truthfully, Frank is one of those guys. He don't want to talk about it. He don't want to talk about it, which I completely understand because I was the same way. I'm like, man, if it's gonna happen, like it'll happen. But I don't want to, you don't want to get yourself all psychologically like feeling down and out. And so I know he hasn't talked about it a lot, but man, shout out to Frank Gore and the career that he had. I say it again, as I said before, that it's one thing to watch a guy from afar, but it's another thing that when you are teammates with a guy and you watch him in practice, to study him in practice, just to turn around and like be enamored with, what he does in the game. Not that it's surprising, but just, man, I gotta watch. We on a defensive sideline, and I'm over here like looking at the offense because I'm like, Frank finna bust the power. Oh, they playing against this defense. If they get in this, he finna go for one. So Frank had a tremendous career. It was amazing to be a part of it and watch it, and so I'm rooting for him.
What was the area of his game that I think people underrate? Because for me, and I'll let you think about it for a second, like I think his blocking was unreal. There was a play in the playoff game against the Packers in Lambeau. You're on the final drive. Kaepernick's in shotgun, and he comes across the formation, stops the blitzer. Kaepernick's able to rifle the ball down and tuck it and run for a first down. I feel like his blocking was even more underrated as an aspect of his game. What was it for you?
You know what? You absolutely hit it on the head. I was thinking maybe his eyes, his vision, the way his contact balance, but you hit it right on the head. That was a home run. The way Frank his pass pro was unbelievable. And shout out to Tom Rathman. But I remember in practice we had we couldn't hit Frank. We couldn't touch Frank. Touch Frank, it was like touching the quarterback. You couldn't really touch him. But man, we be in training camp. I remember he would tag off on our linebacker. They would come in on we doing pass pro blitz and protection or whatnot, and Frank would come through and pow. And I would say to myself, like early on, I'm like, okay, but then after a while, I'm like, all right, Frank, man, you can't keep doing this to our guys, man. Like, you go knock them out. And so Frank took great pride in being a well-rounded running back, and that's one of the things that, you have to give your hat off to him because not many running backs can pass pro like Frank stood in there and did. And so, again, just shout out to Frank.
You're around the team a lot right now, and I'm just curious, like, the toe injury is the thing I associate with you, the turf toe. It sucked, and you've actually talked a lot about it. Have you had a chance to talk to Purdy and just maybe share some of your experiences with it, or are you just letting him kind of do his own thing?
Yeah, early on we chopped it up a little bit, but it was just high level and just the talking about the discomfort. But saying that it will come back at some point, but it's going to be uncomfortable for a little while. But all in all, man, he's came back and he's been tremendous. And I hope it continues to, go well for him.
Would you have liked to have played, even though you had Vic and Lord Vic was awesome, would you have liked to have played for Robert Saleh, the way he's so fired up on the sidelines?
Oh, man, you're gonna hit me with that. That was a heck of a question. I would say being around it as I have been the last couple of years, but really this year, and seeing how those guys played for him, back when they went to the championship before he left to go to the Jets, I was kind of like, man, they really like this guy, and they talk highly of him, and so this time him coming back, I've been able to be around the team this year from spring ball to training camp to some of the practices and meetings, and I can honestly say for myself, like, man, I see why they like this guy. I see why they willing to run through a brick wall, and not just for him, but for his defensive coaching staff as well. So I say all that to say, man, you know what? It'd have been nice. It'd have been nice. They are on point, and again, shout out to that whole defensive coaching staff for just keeping these guys ready with all the adversity that they've been through this year.